Making good.
Yeah, making good. Like when she had her belly when she was like wrapped up, and then she touched him, and like she remembered that when she was dancing.
Yes. So she would be feeling. She might feel nostalgic or have a nostalgia for something particular. Right now, I want you to take a minute to fill in the rest of your template. I'm particularly checking for your sentences again, but also synonyms, antonyms.
Good times. Yeah, that's suggested. Sweet fun. Again, like associated with associated with the past.
So Anthony is thinking about something negative?
Yes, or thinking about the future.
Take 30 more seconds.
Sort of. That's missing someone. Missing someone positive from the past.
So what kind of connotation does the word nostalgic have?
Positive?
Positive.
Why positive, Jade?
Because it's not. Isn't it neutral? Yeah, isn't it neutral? Because you could like reminisce something. I mean, reminisce. You could have like a bad. Like getting. Isn't it second flashback though? Kind of.
Okay, flashback is you can have a good flashback or a bad flashback. It depends on the context.
Specific group.
Like in the picture of the tree, like it's bad that nobody's been there in a long time, but it's good because it's still there, so it's still hanging, and it represents something. Like you get where I'm coming from?
Okay, so that picture, yes, it could be positive or negative, but the word nostalgia. Hold on, pause for a second. There was something in the definition of nostalgia that tipped us off about connotation. Pega, what do you think it was?
I have a question.
Yes.
Is it also considered nostalgic if you think of a memory you had that you miss and feel sad about it?
Like you feel sad about something that you miss?
Because you miss something. Like, let's just say someone misses the way things were when they were little. And they feel nostalgic about that. Is that considered nostalgic?
Yes, it is nostalgic, but the reason that they like feel sad and they miss it is because it was a happy time. So it has to be like yes, you might feel sort of sad if you're feeling nostalgic, but usually the emphasis isn't on the fact that you're feeling sad. It's on the fact that you're like remembering and thinking back to something positive. Sammy, then Xavier?
Is it like homesick? Like, because you're remembering something that, like, let's say you remember something from your hometown, you're basically homesick.
What kind of connotation does homesick have?
Negative, but it could be a positive too, because like some people don't like being at home. Like, yeah.
So being homesick is negative because like you're feeling.
What about like let's say you get married and then your wife's what do you call that mother is like annoying and you don't want to be there and like she lives with you, so that's not being homesick, because then you just think about happy being away from there. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay, being homesick. Everyone listen. Everyone listen. Donovan, sit up. Being homesick is a negative feeling. Like, you are torn apart, you are sad about where you are, you wish you were at home. Being nostalgic, you might feel like a little hint of sadness because of something that was so great in the past, but you're not like overwhelmed with sadness. You wouldn't be crying if you were nostalgic. You would be like thinking back positively and being like, God, like I remember that game when I played in those cleats and like we beat Yale. But you wouldn't like start crying because you wish that you were playing the game right at that moment.
Some people
So
do.
they might, but not really. But if you're reminiscing back to the past, like there is a hint of positive to reminisce as well, but you might like be reminiscing about something a little more negative. Nostalgic is very positive. You're nostalgic about good things in your past. We're gonna move on. Last word, conformity. This word has a lot of connotation associated with it as well. Chris Wilson, loud voice, read us the first bullet point. Sammy, sit up. Just read the first one.
Is this the general vocab?
Is this, yeah, general vocab, yes.
Conformity. To be or become similar in behavior, form, nature, or character.
And Chris P, the second one,
The act of, does that say challenge?
changing.
Changing oneself to fit agreed upon social expectations, established customs, and ideals to avoid standing.
Can someone tell me this in a louder, no. Can someone tell me this in their own terms, like how they could describe this in their own way? Matt, how might you describe conformity in your own words?
Like getting used to something.
Not quite. Aaron? Sammy?
Change it.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Go ahead.
Did you just call me?
No, yeah, he said never mind.
Oh. Changing the way you are because other people say to.
Okay, possibly, Jade.
Yeah, Two-Face.
Not necessarily, Chris.
Well, I was reading the first one, to be or become similar behavior. I was like a routine or something.
It could be a routine. Aaron?
Can an example be Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan?
How so? Speak louder.
Because, like, you know how Michael Jordan did all those moves, and then if you look back, Kobe did the moves too. And
So usually, I just need everyone up here. What a lot of people in other classes said was like fitting in is sort of an example of conformity. Usually conformity refers to a group, like you're sort of conforming to the people around you. It means you're like kind of almost adapting or changing to fit in with what is normal. So for example, a lot of like men who live in America wear like baggier pants. Men in Europe wear really skinny pants. If you go to Europe as a guy, you will probably, I know you don't think you will, but you probably will. You will conform to European style and you would wear skinny pants. You would like fit in with the people around you and change because of what is the norm where you are. Dr. Woodruff.
Can someone make a connection between this term and what the lecture in college readiness seminar?
No.
I'll ask for follow-up. Someone made that connection in the last class on their own, by the way. Jack.
So maybe
Done, sit up.
so many women or men change themselves to be like in the style that
European future.
Jacqueline, I didn't even hear that.
they change in a way to be socially acceptable and to be like happy with their what they look like.
So, what kind of connotation do we think this word has? Like, is it good to conform, bad, Aaron?
can be neutral.
Why neutral?
Because, like, it could be good. No, I'm gonna say bad first. It could be bad because, like, on the Beyonce thing with her class, she changed her skin because, I guess the press wanted her to.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop you there. Usually, when people conform, like a lot of times you see like you're conforming or you're such a conformist, typically it's viewed, Sammy turn a track, as negative. Like, I definitely associate this word, Don, sit up, with a negative thing. Like, I think automatically of like groups that have sort of made something negative to be the norm. So, for example, like Nazis or KKK, those weren't necessarily like bad people, but
What you mean?
they started to do something really bad, and they started to think something like really that we realize is really wrong because they were just conforming to what was around them. So, like Sammy, obviously I don't support Nazis
I'm not
and the
saying that it's
KKK.
supported, but I mean, there's no good thing in it.
There's nothing good about it, but the people who like were normal people who just conformed to this idea that was around them. So like they just started to think like everyone around them, and it became normal. So like this says when people are free to do as they please, they usually imitate each other. It's like sadly enough, it's sort of normal for people to conform. Like it's hard not to conform to the people who are around you. However, like we still, like in our society, everyone is constantly conforming, but yet we're still praising like individuality, leadership, self-expression, etc. Jade, Chris, and then Sammy.
It's like kind of important, but isn't that like implants, like how like, no, it kind of is because like how people see other people on TV doing it, and so they want to do it and like follow like their lead. Isn't that kind of like a family?
Yeah, and there might be like fads, like you might see like all of a sudden everyone is getting implants. All of a sudden everyone's dyeing their hair, and then like it goes out of style. So like people are sort of conforming to the people who are around them. Chris.
In movie 42, Allen Robinson is batting for the Dodgers for the first time, and his dad, like the dad of the little boy, is like calling him names, like, and then the boy starts calling him, and then he sees his idol, a white player who like puts his arm around Jackie, and then he starts like seeing what he's doing wrong.
Yeah, good. So like that situation of like imitating what you see, we almost can't help but do it as human beings. It's like part of our brain wiring. Sammy, question?
Hold on. Oh, there was a group of people back then called the Black Panthers. They were trying to help black people, but then the governor supposedly, but what do you call it? The governor. The people that are in charge of the governor or the president didn't want to say anything, but people still figured out that, in other words, well, that's what I heard, that the governor, they try to put them into gangs when they really weren't. They were trying to help them, so that's why I'm trying to say that, they were, I don't know if this is an example, but they were confronting them because they wanted to be just like the people that were gangs, but when they really didn't want to. I don't know how to explain it.
So there are people who are generally non-conformists, who don't conform to the norm, but almost just like conformists are sort of in a group and have their own norm. Tracking up here. Non-conformists might also group together and then conform to one another. So there's sort of a catch-22. I want you to look at this and raise your hand if you can explain to me what this means. Think about it for a minute. Whitney, what do you think this means?
Basically, I think there is one people that wherever that is or something, that it's a possibility that they'll change, try to fit in.
That they'll change to conform? Okay, close. Not quite. Danger, conformity, hazard, contains possibly new information which may stimulate independent thought. Xavier.
I think it's trying to say you're gonna get too comfortable. You're gonna get too comfortable, and you're gonna lose all your independence because you feel comfortable.
So wait, if you lose your independence, then you would conform, or just get comfortable. Listen to a teammate. Jake.
Isn't it new information that would change your mind into copying everybody else, and not it's information that how do you explain it? It's information that may make you think different about something else, how everybody else thinks.
So then, would you conform or not conform?
You would. No, you would not.
If you think so, Chris, explain it.
Oh, I just read the last part, the contains off the new information. I was thinking if you was to go somewhere new, like how you said, if you was to go to Europe, even though you already dressed a certain way, you try to fit in, and it'll just mess up your whole mind, where you're trying to fit in a way and try to find out whichever way you can.
Can I ask a question, Ms. Goldstein?
Yes.
What does the word hazard mean? I think that would help with the understanding of the whole piece.
What's a hazard, Pega?
A danger.
A danger. So conformity, danger. Sammy.
Okay, it's basically saying that the place that it's in is full of conformity. That means what it's head. It means it's lost. That means that.
Conformity.
Huh?
Conformity.
I know it means conformity. That
Okay.
means you want to fit in and all that. So if he got a locked head, everyone won't want a locked head. If he didn't have an unlocked head, then everyone wants an unlocked head.
Okay. So
Y'all don't get it, like.
We were talking about the lock-in.
I know we were talking about the locked head. It's a danger zone, like. What? Oh my God.
okay, I need mouse off quickly. So we're really close, but not quite there.
Like my fault.
If oh wait. If you are introduced to independent ideas or independent thoughts, you would go against conformity. Like conformity would be
Oh, is it like a belief?
like conformity would be challenged. Conformity would not happen if you get independent thought. So this is saying like danger. If you are a conformist, like if you're conforming currently, this independent thought might cause you to no longer conform. So like whatever group thoughts you have, and if you're conforming currently in your life, like watch out, you're about to get some new independent thoughts, you're not going to want to conform anymore. Adriel?
So, is the word conformity a bad word? Is it somewhere because I feel like neutral bit and bad.
So it has a negative connotation, but people kind of look down on conforming, like if you're just following for the sake of following. But conformity to some extent, like being similar to the people around you, like all of us are wearing pants and a top. Like all of us wear t-shirts. Like we to some extent like do the same things and behave a similar way. We all typically eat it 3 times a day. Like there are certain things that you Chris track. Like because we eat in the United States, we probably eat dinner around 6 or 7 p.m. In Europe, they eat at 10 or 11 p.m. Like that's their norm. So but everyone around them conforms to that norm. Or like changes their behavior and like their idea of what's normal because of what's around you. It's not always negative, but it tends to have a negative connotation if you're sort of like a follower, or you're just becoming, you're just like joining what's around you for the sake of joining what's around you. Okay, we don't have a lot of time.